This Nissan engine has a 90% failure rate before 100,000 miles. This one has been recalled nearly 500,000 times for catastrophic bearing failures. And this one burns oil so fast you'll think there's a leak in your driveway. Today we're counting down the 3 worst and 4 best Nissan engines ever made, and trust me, you need to know which is which before you buy your next car. These are compiled data from repair records, analyzed recall databases, master technicians' reports to bring you the definitive guide to Nissan's biggest successes and most expensive failures. Whether you're shopping for a reliable daily driver or building your dream project car, this video will save you from making a costly mistake. Let's dive into the engines that mechanics refuse to work on. The HR12 DDT is a 1.2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that Nissan produced from 2012 to 2019, and it's earned the nickname Chain Sawyer for all the wrong reasons. This little engine found its way into the Nissan Juke and Qashqai, along with some Renault Captur and Clio variants during the Renault-Nissan partnership era. On paper, it looked promising, a compact turbo 4 making around 113 to 115 horsepower and 140 pound-feet of torque. But here's where things get ugly. The HR12 DDT suffers from catastrophic timing chain stretch and failure, often without warning. Owners report hearing a rattling noise on cold starts that sounds like marbles in a blender. That's your first warning sign. The engine also has severe oil consumption problems due to poorly designed piston rings that can't maintain proper seal. Head gasket failures are common, especially when the engine overheats from oil starvation. What makes this worse is that many of these engines become uneconomical to rebuild due to the complexity and cost of parts. If you own one of these engines, you need to use only the correct ACEA specification oil and genuine filters. Change your oil every 5,000 miles maximum, and at the first sign of chain rattle on startup, get it inspected immediately. Many owners have learned the hard way that ignoring that morning rattle leads to complete engine failure. The timing chain can jump teeth or break completely, turning your engine into expensive scrap metal. But wait, there's something even worse coming. The oil-oholic is next. The QG15DE and QG18DE are 1.5 and 1.8-liter 4-cylinder engines that Nissan produced from 1999 to 2006. The QG15DE earned the nickname Thin Ring Thing, while the QG18DE became known as the oil-oholic. You'll find these engines in the Nissan Almera, Sunny, Sentra, and Primera from that era. These should have been reliable commuter engines, but instead they became notorious for one critical flaw: premature piston ring wear. The piston rings were simply too small for the cylinder bore diameter, allowing oil to seep past and burn away. Owners report oil consumption rates of 1 quart every 600 to 1,000 miles, which is absolutely unacceptable. The small oil sump capacity makes this problem even worse. Run a little low once and you'll cook the bearings. What's particularly frustrating is that these engines can fail even with regular maintenance. The ring design flaw means that no amount of oil changes will prevent the eventual oil burning problem. If you currently own one of these engines, check your oil level at every fuel fill-up. Use high-quality oil and consider a slightly thicker viscosity in summer to slow consumption. But honestly, the economics of rebuilding these engines rarely make sense. Most mechanics will tell you to start shopping for a replacement car rather than rebuild a QG engine. For used car buyers, avoid these engines unless the price is so low that you can afford to replace the engine when it inevitably fails. But even these oil burners pale in comparison to our worst engine, the VC Wildcard and its 3-cylinder partner in crime. Taking the crown for worst Nissan engines are the KR15 DDT and KR20 DDET, Nissan's variable compression turbo engines. The KR15 DDT is a 1.5-liter 3-cylinder nicknamed Triple Trouble. The KR20 DDET is a 2.0-liter 4-cylinder known as the VC Wildcard. These engines represent Nissan's attempt at revolutionary technology, a multi-link system that changes compression ratio on the fly. The KR15 DDT produces around 201 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque from just 3 cylinders. The KR20 DDET makes 248 to 268 horsepower and 280 to 288 pound-feet of torque, depending on application. You'll find the KR15 DDT in 2021 to 2024 Nissan Rogues. The KR20 DDET powers 2019 to 2022 Infiniti QX50s, 2022 QX55s, and 2019 to 2020 Nissan Altima SR models. The problem is that all those clever bearings and multi-link mechanisms need to be perfect under extreme heat and boost pressure for years. In practice, too many weren't. Bearing failures, metal shavings in the oil, and sudden catastrophic engine death became so common that Nissan issued a massive recall covering nearly 450,000 vehicles in North America. Owners report engines failing without warning, sometimes leaving them stranded on highways. The recall requires dealers to inspect oil pans for metal debris and replace entire engines where necessary. Even after the recall, these engines require obsessive maintenance. You need short oil change intervals, premium oil only, and careful warm-up procedures. The complex variable compression mechanism simply has too many failure points for reliable long-term operation. If you're shopping for a used vehicle with one of these engines, demand documentation of the recall inspection and consider a pre-purchase oil analysis. Even then, I'd recommend looking elsewhere unless you're prepared for expensive repairs. This is a classic case of brilliant engineering on paper that becomes a nightmare in the real world. Now that we've covered the engines that'll empty your wallet, let's shift gears to the good news. For every problematic engine, Nissan has built a stable of absolute legends. These are engines that dominate racetracks, haul your families mile after mile in daily commutes, and win awards year after year. We're going to educate you on the best Nissan engine families and the top engines in each family. For modern world practicality, we're focusing on Nissan engines that produce at least 150 horsepower. These power plants have proven themselves in the crucible of real-world use, from silky smooth luxury to Japanese touring car championships. We'll start with the hand-built Hammer, then move through the legendary Aussie Boost Block, Neo Boost Bruiser, and Godzilla's Heart. We'll explore the Rocker Rocket, then celebrate the best engine family with the High Rev Air, VVL Virtuoso, Silky Samurai, and the award-winning Ward's Workhorse. Each of these engines comes with specific maintenance tips, common issues to watch for, and the exact vehicles they powered. By the end, you'll know exactly which Nissan Heart to trust for your next build or daily driver. Quick favor, if you like the video so far, help us hype it, like and share it as it helps us make more content. Thank you. On to the best list. The VR38 DETT is a 3.8-liter twin-turbo V6 that's earned the nickname Hand-Built Hammer. This is the crown jewel of modern Nissan engineering, hand-assembled by master craftsmen in Yokohama, Japan. Each engine is built by specially qualified technicians with decades of experience. You'll find this masterpiece exclusively in the R35 Nissan GTR from 2009 to present. The VR38 DETT produces between 480 and 565 horsepower depending on the model year, with around 467 pound-feet of torque. What makes this engine special isn't just the power, it's the engineering. The closed-deck aluminum block uses plasma-sprayed cylinder liners for strength. The heads flow incredibly well, and the twin IHI turbochargers are integrated into the exhaust manifolds. With proper maintenance, these engines regularly see 150,000 to 200,000 miles in stock form. But here's where it gets really impressive. Built examples can handle over 1,000 horsepower while remaining streetable. The key to longevity is premium oil change frequently, pristine cooling systems, and respecting the engine's limits. Track use requires oil temperature monitoring and potentially external cooling. The GR6 dual-clutch transmission also needs attention. Fluid changes and clutch pack monitoring are essential. For used buyers, verify any modifications were done professionally and ask for oil analysis history. This engine represents the pinnacle of what Nissan can achieve when they spare no expense. But speaking of legendary engineering, let's talk about the Aussie Boost Block. The RB family represents Nissan's greatest achievement in inline-six engineering. Let's start with the RB30ET, nicknamed the Aussie Boost Block. This 3.0-liter turbocharged inline-six powered the R31 Skyline GTSR in Australia and the Holden VL Commodore from 1986 to 1992. With its tall deck height and robust construction, it became the foundation for Australia's fastest streetcars. The RB30ET produced around 201 to 268 horsepower and 224 to 248 pound-feet of torque, depending on application. Moving up, we have the RB25DET, the Neo Boost Bruiser. This 2.5-liter Turbo 6 powered the R33 Skyline GTST and R34 GTT from 1993 to 2001. The later NEO version featured variable cam timing and stronger internals. Factory output reached up to 276 horsepower and around 253 pound-feet of torque. But the crown jewel is the RB26 DETT, known as Godzilla's Heart. This 2.6-liter twin-turbo inline-six powered the legendary R32, R33, and R34 Skyline GTRs from 1989 to 2002. Officially rated at 276 horsepower due to the Japanese gentleman's agreement, real output was closer to 320 horsepower. What makes RB engines special is their overbuilt cast iron construction. The RB26DE-TT features individual throttle bodies and parallel twin turbochargers. These engines are famous for their ability to handle massive power increases with stock internals. Maintenance is straightforward but critical. Timing belt service on schedule, pristine cooling systems, and quality oil. Early RB26 engines may need oil pump drive upgrades for high RPM use. With proper care, these engines regularly achieve 220,000 to 300,000 miles. The RB family's combination of strength, sound, and tunability makes them legends among enthusiasts worldwide. Next up is the high-revving hero known as the Rocker Rocket. The SR20DE and SR20DET are 2.0-liter dual overhead cam four-cylinders that earned the nickname Rocker Rocket. These engines powered the legendary S13, S14, and S15, Silvia, and 180SX from 1991 to 2002. You'll also find them in the Pulsar GTIR, Bluebird, and Primera. The naturally aspirated SR20DE produces around 140 horsepower, while the turbocharged SR20DET makes up to 245 horsepower. Torque ranges from 132 to 210 pound-feet of torque, depending on specification. What makes the SR20 special is its bulletproof timing chain and incredibly strong bottom end. Stock internals can reliably handle 300 to 400 horsepower with proper tuning and supporting modifications. The engine's Achilles heel is the valve train on certain hydraulic versions. High RPM operation or aggressive rev limiters can cause rocker arms to float and fail. The solution is rocker arm stoppers or converting to solid lifters with appropriate valve springs. Maintenance is straightforward: quality oil, clean cooling system, and ensuring the oil pickup isn't damaged. The oil pan sits low and can be dented by curbs or road debris, restricting oil flow. With proper care and the right valve train setup, these engines easily achieve 250,000 to 330,000 miles. The SR20's combination of strength, tunability, and that distinctive four-cylinder howl makes it a favorite among drifters and tuners worldwide. But for the ultimate in reliability and awards, nothing beats the Ward's workhorse. Before we crown our #1 best engine family, let's take a moment to recap this incredible journey through Nissan's engineering highs and lows. We started in the basement with 3 engine families that prove even Japanese manufacturers can get it spectacularly wrong. The HR12 DDT chainsawyer showed us what happens when you try to extract too much power from too little displacement. This 1.2-liter turbo four-cylinder in the Juke and Qashqai promised efficiency and performance, but delivered timing chain failures, oil consumption nightmares, and head gasket disasters instead. Owners learned the hard way that morning chain rattle isn't just annoying, it's a $5,000 repair bill waiting to happen. The timing chain stretch became so common that mechanics started calling it the chain sawyer because it literally sawed through engine internals. The QG family took oil consumption to criminal levels. The QG15DE thin ring thing and QG18DE oil-oholic in the Almera, Sunny, Sentra, and Primera burned through oil faster than a 2-stroke dirt bike. With piston rings too small for their bores and oil sumps too small for their appetites, these engines turn routine maintenance into a constant battle against oil starvation. Owners reported checking oil levels at every gas station, carrying spare quarts in their trunks, and watching their driveways for telltale oil spots. The economics of rebuilding these engines rarely made sense. Most mechanics recommended engine swaps or scrapping the car entirely. But our worst engines reached new depths of engineering failure with the KR-VC Turbo family, the KR-15DDT Triple Trouble 3-cylinder in the Rogue, and KR-20DDET VC Wildcard 4-cylinder in the QX50, QX55, and Altima SR, promised revolutionary variable compression technology. Instead, they delivered bearing failures, metal shavings, and a recall covering nearly 500,000 vehicles. The complex multi-link system that changed compression ratios on the fly proved to be the engine's Achilles heel. Bearings that needed to be perfect under extreme heat and pressure simply weren't up to the task. Owners reported engines failing without warning, sometimes leaving them stranded on highways with catastrophic internal damage. These engines prove that sometimes innovation comes at too high a price. Then we climbed out of that pit of despair and into the light of engineering excellence. The VR38 DETT hand-built hammer showed us what happens when Nissan spares no expense. Hand-built in Yokohama by master craftsmen and exclusively powering the R35 GT-R, this 3.8-liter twin-turbo V6 delivers supercar performance with surprising durability. Each engine carries the signature of its builder, representing the pinnacle of Japanese manufacturing precision. The RB family took us on a tour of straight-six perfection. From the RB30 ET Aussie Boost block that dominated Australian streets with its tall deck construction to the RB25 DET Neo Boost Bruiser that balanced power and refinement with variable cam timing, these engines built Nissan's performance reputation. But the crown jewel was the RB26 DETT Godzilla's heart, the twin-turbo 2.6-liter that powered the legendary Skyline GT-R and became the stuff of automotive legend. With individual throttle bodies and parallel twin turbochargers, it redefined what a production engine could achieve. The SR20 Rocker rocket proved that 4 cylinders could be just as legendary as 6s. This 2.0-liter powerhouse in the Silvia 180SX and Pulsar GTIR combined bulletproof reliability with incredible tuning potential. Its timing chain-driven design and overbuilt bottom end made it the darling of drifters and tuners worldwide, capable of handling 300 to 400 horsepower on stock internals. The difference between these engines isn't just about power or technology, it's about engineering philosophy. The worst engines tried to do too much with too little, cutting corners on critical components like piston rings, timing chains, and bearing surfaces. The best engines were overbuilt from the ground up with robust bottom ends, proven oiling systems, and conservative stress levels that allowed them to run for hundreds of thousands of miles. But now it's time to crown the ultimate champion, an engine family so good they literally rewrote the rules of automotive awards. The VQ family represents the absolute pinnacle of Nissan's V6 engineering, and they've earned every single accolade through decades of proven performance. This isn't just about one great engine, it's about an entire family of power plants that dominated automotive awards while delivering bulletproof reliability to millions of owners worldwide. Let's start with the VQ35HR, the high-rev Air. This 3.5-liter V6 powered the later 350Z and G35 from 2006 to 2008, representing a massive evolution from its predecessor. With about 80% of its internals completely redesigned, it produces around 306 horsepower and 268 pound-feet of torque, while revving higher and smoother than ever before. The HR update addressed every weakness of the earlier DE version while maintaining all of its strengths. The VQ37 VHR, nicknamed the VVEL Virtuoso, took the family's technology even further. This 3.7-liter V6 with variable valve event and lift powered the 370Z from 2009 to 2020, and the Infiniti G37, becoming the most advanced naturally aspirated V6 of its era. It produces 330 to 350 horsepower and 270 to 276 pound-feet of torque, depending on application, with a rev-happy character that made every drive feel special. The VVEL system allowed the engine to optimize valve timing and lift across the entire RPM range, delivering both efficiency and performance. The VQ30DE, known as the Silky Samurai, powered the A32 and A32 Maxima and Infiniti i30 from the mid-1990s to early 2000s. This smooth operator produces 189 to 227 horsepower and 205 to 217 pound-feet of torque, establishing the VQ family's reputation for refinement and durability. It was the engine that proved Nissan could build V6s that rivaled the best from Toyota and Honda, while offering superior performance. But the crown jewel is the VQ35DE, the Ward's workhorse. This 3.5-liter V6, together with the VQ30DE, has appeared on Ward's 10 Best Engines list an incredible 13 times, more than any other engine in automotive history. It powered the 350Z from 2003 to 2006, Infiniti G35 from 2003 to 2007, and numerous Maxima, Murano, and Pathfinder models throughout its production run. The VQ35DE produces 287 to 300 horsepower and 260 to 274 pound-feet of torque in sports car applications, with a torque curve that feels like an electric motor. What makes VQ engines legendary is their combination of power, smoothness, and durability that no competitor has matched. They feature all aluminum construction for weight savings, dual overhead cams for breathing, and forged connecting rods for strength. The cylinder heads flow exceptionally well, allowing these engines to make impressive power naturally aspirated. The bottom end is incredibly robust, with main bearing caps that can handle serious abuse. The VQ family's engineering philosophy was refreshingly simple. Build it right the first time using proven technology. Instead of chasing exotic materials or complex systems, Nissan focused on executing fundamental engineering principles flawlessly. The result is engines that routinely achieve 280,000 to 350,000 miles with nothing more than basic maintenance. Maintenance is straightforward and affordable. Quality oil and filters changed regularly, monitoring early timing chain tensioners on some model years, and watching for oil consumption on higher mileage examples. The cooling systems are robust, the fuel systems are simple, and parts availability is excellent even decades later. The VQ family's 13 Ward's 10 Best Awards speak to their exceptional engineering and real-world durability that owners could count on year after year. These engines prove that you don't need cutting-edge technology to build a legendary power plant. You just need to execute the fundamentals perfectly and never compromise on quality. The journey from Nissan's worst to best engines reveals everything you need to know about automotive engineering philosophy. The failures happened when accountants overruled engineers, when complexity was chosen over simplicity, and when corners were cut on critical components. The successes came from overbuilding proven technology and never compromising on quality. If you're shopping for a used Nissan, now you know exactly which engines to seek out and which to avoid. For the legends like the VQ35DE or RB26DETT, expect to pay more upfront, but you'll save thousands in the long run. For the problem children like the VC turbo engines, even a great deal isn't worth the headache. Here's your maintenance cheat sheet. Use high-quality oil and change it frequently, keep cooling systems pristine, and address any unusual noises immediately. Most importantly, buy from owners who have maintenance records and understand what they're selling. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that hype button and let me know in the comments which Nissan engine you trust for 300,000 miles. And this is Tom from Seats and Wheels. Thanks for watching.